Yes, guys, hope you're well. Welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. I'm Gianni, the FPL guy. I'm joined by regular co-host, Mr. Dean Jones. Dean, how are you, mate?
Hello, mate. Happy Halloween. Yeah, it's I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, weird game week, wasn't it? I mean, we got to talk Haaland straight away. I mean, it was a scary time for everyone. I said I couldn't handle dealing with the stress leading into it. I was like, he's going in my team. Either plays or he doesn't, and I got to be set up to have a decent vice captain and a decent first sub. So I had Perisic's first sub, Jesus as vice captain. It was fine. It wasn't great, but it was fine. I think I dealt with it. You, I feel like, took the advice on Twitter or something, didn't you?
Yeah, I was waiting for those leaks. I was hoping we were going to get some, and yeah, we had some blue tickers with a few tweets at 10-2. But look, many of you would have been stung by this. The FPL website actually crashed about, I think, 10:56, 10:57, 11 o'clock deadline. So there I was trying to sell Foden to bring in Saka, and yeah, just wouldn't let it go through. And someone said to me, "Oh, serves you right for doing your transfers on a mobile. Such a novice." I was like, "Mate, do you really think I was relying purely on my mobile? I was there on 2 devices logged in, refreshing every 10 seconds."
I bet you are.
But look, it turned out to be all right. Like, sure, I lost out on 3 points because Saka got 4, Foden and got 1. But I think I would take those 4 points off, knowing I haven't used a transfer, and knowing Saka's probably going to be injured. So 2 transfers going into next week. We'll show how we both get on later in the show. We'll also show a special bonus point section tonight, guys. Very excited about this. And we'll also be previewing ahead of Friday's show, where we've got a very special guest joining Dean and I. More about him later. Little clue, former Premier League footballer, but we'll speak more about him later.
Yeah,
good to see so many in the chat as well. And yeah, FPL Golo Galazzo. Finally, I've got an excuse to avoid trick-or-treating duties. Love that.
I've just got back. I've just been trick-or-treating with the kids. Yeah. It was pouring down with rain at like 5 o'clock. We were aiming to go out at 5:30 and it just stopped in time. So we didn't get soaked. I was kind of dreading it, but it was fine. There's one street in particular where I live and it was rammed, like everyone there just filling up their buckets with sweets. But yeah, I was like, right, got a strict cut off now. I'm off. And off I ran, off to get to the CGA crew.
From someone that's got young kids, like, what's the etiquette for time of night you can go trick-or-treating? Because my wife and I just had the discussion. We were like, we've just put the baby to bed. If someone starts ringing on the doorbell now, and this was at 6:45, we're going to be annoyed because she's going to wake up and then it takes forever to settle her again.
You just got to turn all the lights off, and like, people should know not to knock on that door. I think that's it. Like, kids, if they know if the lights aren't on or someone's got a sign on the door, it's a no-go. And that's that. There's enough other houses that are welcoming it. They don't need to be knocking on every door.
Yeah, fair point. I was glad to see Vindy's comment coming in about me being dressed for trick or treat. I'm in the cupboard. I'm in my dad's kitchen. You might hear slight difference in the audio tonight. I'm on my travel mic, which isn't as good. But yeah, I'm looking forward to tonight's show.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
We should touch on the weekend just gone. The big headline for me, I mean, there's a fair few, but I know we spoke a lot last week on both Monday's and Friday's show about Newcastle. So I just want to touch on them now because I feel like I've been giving advice for the last 2-3 weeks about buy Wilson, buy Almiron. And I'm not taking this advice myself, Dean. Like, I don't understand how I don't have a Newcastle attacker. And yet again at the weekend, they absolutely smashed it. Villa never even looked like scoring. Pope made no saves. But that Newcastle attack, one way or another, with Almiron or Wilson, I feel like we need one of those players in our team. I mean, you moved for Almiron and you rewarded straight away.
Yeah, thank God I did that. Great transfer that I was delighted with. And the way he took his goal as well, like, that is a lad that is just absolutely full of confidence. Feels like everything is going to hit now. Ends up in the back of the net. Assists to Callum Wilson. Look, I'm thinking of getting him in for Jesus. I feel like that's one direction I'm considering right now. There seems no let up with Newcastle. Doesn't matter who they're playing. Doesn't matter what's going on at the moment. The only concern I've got is making that transfer now. 2 games left before pause, then see what happens at World Cup. Like injuries and stuff could mess up Newcastle. You never know. So probably be one I do hold off on until after the World Cup. But of course, Callum Wilson might even be going to the World Cup at this rate. You never know. But yeah, Newcastle, they're the real deal. They are the real deal. Like knocking on the door for Champions League, at least going in the Europa at this point. Like what a first half of the season they're having. Yeah, it's been really, really good.
It's good to see FPL Focus in the chat, who's a big Arsenal fan. He said, Jesus can't buy a goal and Wilson looks like a good move. And I know how loyal FPL Focus is to Arsenal players. So for Graham to say that, that Jesus to Wilson might be on is a strong one. And of course, Arsenal play, is it Chelsea next week? I feel like it is.
Yep, it is.
So it's a difficult game, but then they do have Wolves before the World Cup. Whilst Newcastle go to Southampton, which I don't think is a bad place to go, and then they're at home to Chelsea. And I think at the moment, you look at St James's Park and how Newcastle are playing there, well, they'll definitely be the favourites for that fixture against Chelsea. I don't know if the bookies will put them as favourites, but I certainly would, the way both teams are playing.
Yeah, I would too. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll see when we get to that game. But for this week, Newcastle, Southampton. Southampton aren't very good. I mean, Hasenhüttl's under all sorts of pressure. Southampton fans want him gone. There's a fair chance Hasenhüttl will be gone during the World Cup break. They're considering a change of manager. They are so boring. They've got no goal threat. So you've got a team there, Southampton, who, as I say, no threat and up against the best defence in the league. Looks like a blank to me. And up the other end, you've got a ruthless attack. So really good weekend if you've got Newcastle assets, I think.
Yeah. Shout out to loads of you in the chat. Good to see so many familiar faces and some new ones too. We've got Haley, CH, Evans with us. We've got Kev, Carol, Tiffany's there. We've got Nuclear Atoms and FPL Focus, Vindy, Paul.
All the old school.
Too many. Yeah, all the old school. That's how we like it. Vindy's back and Dal, I think I saw as well. Guys, do give us a like if you haven't already. Make sure you hit and subscribe. And don't forget, we do these streams every Monday and Friday at 7. Just want to mention, I know I mentioned the bookies earlier. What was really funny, Dean, about the team news on Saturday morning, the bookies changed their odds. Something like Man City pretty much drifted to win about 10:30. And it was like, why have the bookies odds just massively changed for a Man City win at Leicester? And there was already rumours that Haaland was out. And it was like, oh, hang on. Yeah, that makes complete sense. If there's no Haaland, the bookies will change their odds.
There's no goals. There's no goals in that team without Haaland at the moment. We said before, City hadn't scored for 3 games away from home ahead of that fixture. And even that's one, they've gone there, they've scored 1 goal from a free kick. Like, so I'm still saying, like, this stands. Like, going forward, Man City away from home without Haaland, difficult to back them, really. But obviously, they've got over the line. It was a great goal. But yeah, really, really interesting to see that approach and the effect that Haaland does actually have on the City team. What's changed about Man City is they didn't used to be reliant on anyone. So it didn't really matter. If one person dropped out of that team, it didn't matter. They still functioned in the same way. That's not true anymore. Man City function and rely on Haaland finishing off their chances. They don't share around the goals as much. So now one man does change that team.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It looked at times a little bit like Man City from last season. We saw some brilliant play, but no one finishing it off. And De Bruyne stepped up and worldy free kick. Dal, good question from you to Dean. Should we approach the game differently once in the top 100k? I ask as I went from 45k to 29k on Saturday and then down to 98k. Okay, didn't have Martinelli and Jesus covered. He had Saka only or Arsenal defence. But what do you reckon, Dean? Carry on playing the way you play, right?
Yeah, of course you do. Yeah. I mean, Dow, I'm never convinced whether he's telling us the truth or not. I have to start seeing screenshots, Dow. I'm never convinced if you're winding us up or not. But yeah, I mean, it is mad how league positions are fluctuating at the moment. Saturday, I think it looked like I was doing quite well, and by the end of Sunday, I was bang average. So I'm all over the place, still jumping between 800,000 and 500,000.
Yeah, me too. I went from 150 pretty much to 300. It's like my rank
mad, isn't
doubled
it?
in size.
You didn't even have a bad week.
Yeah, I think I hit a couple of points below the average. I hit 55, and I think the average might have been 58 or something. So good stuff, guys. We'll answer Mark's question, and then I think we'll move on to Dean's notebook. And remember, guys, we've got a special bonus points feature coming up later in about half an hour's time. Don't miss that. But this is a really good question from Mark, because I've been massively stung by this move. Is Foden, we can't say nailed anymore, because for the last 2 Premier League games, he's been dropped or benched, but he's started every game up to that point. I'm annoyed because I sold Trossard for Foden, and Trossard scored in both the weeks, and Foden's got 2 1-pointers. Do we think this is just Pep giving him a little rest before the World Cup? We go back a month, and he looked like one of the first names on the team sheet. Him, De Bruyne, and Haaland, that trio was causing absolute chaos. Yet to miss 2 Premier League games on the trot doesn't look great for us Foden owners.
It'll come back around. Like, there hasn't been any leaks that he's been misbehaving or anything, So like, when there's been off-field stuff before with Foden, so we haven't heard any of that this time. So you've got to assume he is just rotating like he does. Foden is too good to leave out for that long. The next 2 games, don't forget, Man City, Fulham and Brentford. Fulham and Brentford will be hoping that Foden is still rested, but the chances are pretty slim, unfortunately. So I'd imagine you're going to stick with him, aren't you, for those games?
Yeah, I think so. I can't risk selling him. He's the type of guy that if you sell can get a 15-pointer. Also, those 2 games are at home, and as we've just said, City on the road, we sometimes put a question mark on, but at home, they're good for 5 goals a game.
Yeah, exactly that. 100%. Yeah. Yeah, and even, when they come back from the break as well, first 2 games back, Leeds and Everton, like, yeah, they're one's away from home, but still Man City, like, coming back, they want to make a statement on the back of the World Cup. I'm sure Haaland will be fit and firing after a little break, wherever he goes, Marbella or whatever. And don't risk getting rid of people like that ahead of the break.
Dean, before we move on to a notebook, I want to ask your take on England's front 3 at the World Cup. Is it going to be Kane, Sterling, Foden? Do you think, if you're to name 3 that play, who would your 3 be at the moment?
It'll be those 3, like Gareth Southgate goes tried and tested, and unless any of those 3 have got a knock, then he'll start them. Like, I don't see anyone else coming in. Saka, if he was firing, you'd think might have a chance. Grealish is not going to, he likes Grealish, but Grealish is just not in the sort of form that's going to convince him to start him, I don't think. So it looks to me, I saw Pat Nevin made some weird remark about Raheem Sterling. So what did he say exactly? Like, he's not.
I quote tweeted it saying Pat Nevin clearly doesn't understand Gareth Southgate, because he said something like he'll be nowhere near the England team.
Nowhere near the World Cup side.
Like, have you seen Gareth Southgate with England? Sterling's one of the first names on the team sheet despite his form.
Yeah, also, Raheem Sterling has barely played in his proper position since he joined Chelsea. I think he's played left wing about 3 times. He's played 6 different positions, barely settled, playing wing back now. That's not how Gareth Southgate is going to judge Raheem Sterling. He's definitely going to be playing for England.
Yeah, he didn't have the best season at Man City. He was out the team for long periods, and he still, come the Euros, Southgate's main man, and he stepped up. He was one of the players of the tournament.
Definitely.
Only want to own Foden when Haaland's playing for CH. Yeah, maybe we'll be talking loads more about Haaland on Friday's episode. Now, guys, we're going to move on. Before we do, if you want to put in the chat your England front 3, let us know. Like, not who you think Gareth would pick. Who would you pick in England's front 3? Whack it in the chat, and we'll read a few of them out at the end of the show. But next up, we're going to move on to Dean's notebook.
There's a comment from Graham's got me. He says, "Hi guys, not having Wilson cost me top of my mini league. Been top for 53 consecutive game weeks. Got the Newcastle triple up now. 53 weeks. That is absolute madness." Graham, tell us how many people are in your league. If it's just like 2 or 3 of you, I'm not that impressed. But if there's like 12 of you, I am impressed. So let me know. Also, like, these, are they kids? Are they people your own age? Like, let me know. Anyway, time for the notebook, and let's start by talking about Marcus Rashford. A big day for Man United, 100th goal for Marcus Rashford. And the manner that he scored that goal made me really pay attention to him, because he showed a hunger and desire and commitment to get on the end of that cross and get that ball into the net. It was like Ronaldo was rising to head it in. Rashford hasn't done that for about 3 years. Like, I haven't seen him play like this for a while, and he's spoken, fair play, quite openly about the fact that his mind hasn't been right. He's been affected by things off the pitch, and he's tried to cut some of that out. Obviously, we've seen like Rashford became a massive figurehead for the nation during lockdown and stuff, and on the back of that, his form dipped and he started to get criticised. So he's had loads of stuff to deal with. It doesn't surprise me at all that it's got into his head and it's affected his football. He said he didn't think it was, but it was. And you try not to let these things influence you. But we've seen it with Harry Maguire, and I always suspected that it was a problem for Marcus Rashford. I think he was getting on the wing. You'd see Marcus Rashford over the past couple of years start to run at a defender, turn around and pass it backwards. That's not what he used to do. And I don't think he's going to do it anymore. He's going to sniff a chance to get back in the World Cup frame. And I think he sniffs a chance of making that left side of the attack his own, because Jadon Sancho, not playing well, let's face it. He's not in himself. Ronaldo obviously wants to get back in the team as the forward. Martial will be coming back into contention. Rashford needs to fit in. I'm starting to wonder whether he does actually become a proper FPL option now. What are you thinking?
I think I'm with you. I said going into the game week, I'll consider him after the West Ham fixture, because I thought I think that's a really difficult game, and it was. But he looked like he could have scored a couple. Like, he really bright, and it was the way he was running at defenders that got me, and also the header. It's something I didn't know he had in his locker. I don't think he has had in his locker until now. I don't remember him ever scoring a header like that. Marcus Hangtime Rashford. Only Kurt Hangtime Zuma and Cristiano Hangtime Ronaldo can compete with that. And maybe he's been watching Ronaldo on the training ground. I don't know, but yeah, his timing was just on point. But with the ball at his feet as well, like we spoke about how frustrating it can be seeing him pass backwards. I think he's playing in, his best position. Whether or not he agrees with me, I don't know. I think he's spoken in the past about wanting to be the main man up top as a number 9. Rashford is clearly not a number 9. He hasn't got the all-round game to play there. He hates playing out on the right. That's evident. Maybe doesn't hate it, but he's not very good at it. Every time he plays on the right, he can't cut in the same way. He can't run at defenders in the same way. Playing on the left is brilliant for him. And because we've seen Anthony come into the club on the right and Sancho on the left, we've not seen a huge amount of Rashford on the left in the last probably 12 to 18 months, way before even Anthony came in. But now he's in that position. I think he'll hold it. I think having Ronaldo to play off also probably helps him. So yeah, definitely considering Rashford for 15 and 16.
Yeah, I mean, someone just mentioned maybe not as appealing because Fernandes is out. But Man United's next 2 fixtures are Aston Villa and Fulham. Yeah, they're both away, but United are a confident team at the moment. They're looking for someone to finish off chances. Look, we saw how quickly Almiron's form turned around once he started to capture confidence. And that can happen for Rashford too. Like, I really do believe it could happen. It's just having the faith in him, which I think a few of us will be unconvinced of. But it's still definitely worth keeping an eye on. Madrid Easter says Rashford has all the talent in the world. He needs to work on his mental game. That's where he struggles. It's true, but like, it's so much easier said than done. Like, it's unbelievable the pressure that these guys are under, especially Rashford, like born and bred Man United, under pressure to thrive, deliver all the time, every game. I'm sure at times, he's been with PSG and he's considered like, should I just get away from this and go to a new environment? But he doesn't want to. He wants to stick around, and fair play to him for that. Right, let's move on to the next guy that I want to talk about, and it's Gabby Jesus. Obviously, somebody mentioned earlier on, hasn't scored for an eternity, but he's still one of their best players, and he's still one of the most important players to this Arsenal team. So, yeah, I've got him on my team, like I say, and he got me a good haul this week, actually, as vice captain. And while, part of me is thinking, would I be better off Callum Wilson? He still delivers some points, and I think he still poses such a threat that I think it will turn around for him and he will start scoring. He's still getting in all the right positions. His movements are still there. He's coming up with a couple of assists. I don't feel like he's losing confidence or anything. I just feel like he's so important to this team that he's having to do a bit of everything at the moment, and the goals have dried up as a result. But Arsenal are still functioning. They're still winning. And while they're still winning and still up there, I feel like he's going to be among the goals. Also, I'm wondering, so Saka, if he is injured, is Jesus on pens? Like, who's the backup pen taker? Yeah.
Probably. It's Martinelli or Jesus, because they've both taken one, but I think Jesus would want that, and I think he'd get it.
I think so, and I think Arsenal will probably be willing to let it happen at the moment because they'll want him to recapture form and goal confidence. Jesus is great for Arsenal, but there are better options for FPL, in my opinion. And that's totally true, but I've already got Jesus in my team, so
Yeah, it's very
to actually
different.
take him out is a different matter as to actually bringing him in. I don't think I'll be bringing him in right now, but he always plays. He's always involved in the games heavily. And yeah, I think I'm sticking with him for now.
Yeah, I think I would actually. I don't think I'll be bringing him in, and I am looking to bring a striker in. But if I had him, I'd be very reluctant to sell because you just can't deny the chances he gets and the involvement. Like I think again, his XG was over 1 again. He will get chances, and against Chelsea, he'll get chances too. And then it's Wolves. Like, that's a nice fixture for him. Like Arsenal have just gone on and scored 5 goals. Like to take out their number 9 would be madness, knowing they've just scored 5 goals. And actually, you're disappointed he only got 1 goal return in
Yeah.
that, but he still clocked a bonus point, and it's still a good return.
Yeah, absolutely that. And like you say, looking at the next fixture, thinking Chelsea, what are Arsenal going to get out of Chelsea? I'm thinking, hang on, well, Arsenal are the better team. Chelsea are all over the place defensively at the moment. Graham Potter is insisting on sticking with his 3 at the back, even when his best defenders aren't available to him.
Yeah.
Arsenal have to make the most of this opportunity and show that there is a swinging power here and that they mean business in terms of trying to win the league. So this is a massive game for Arsenal, and Jesus actually needs to turn up.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm with you there. So, okay, we've done Rashford, Jesus. One final notebook entry for you, Dean?
Yeah, we'll go over to the biggest club in London, Fulham, where there is a guy having an absolute comeback season, and it's Willian.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've got a season ticket at Fulham, so see more of them in it live than any other team. But look, when Willian joined Fulham, I was like, what are we doing? Why are we signing a passenger forward? I
High
don't
wages.
see that. Yeah, high wages. I don't see that this guy's going to have any drive to actually help us. It's going to be like when Loftus-Cheek even came over on loan from Chelsea and he just kind of went through the motions. He wasn't that good. We all got annoyed with him. Then he went back to Chelsea. And Willian, I was like, no, he didn't cut it at Arsenal. He's been away. He didn't do particularly well while he was away. Now he's coming back. And now, honestly, Willian is looking so good. He is Fulham's best player at the moment. Fulham are 7th in the league, maybe 8th, 7th, I think. And honestly, he is running the show. He was man of the match at the weekend against Everton. He's got a lot of goal threat. I've said a lot on here about Andreas Pereira being on set pieces. Well, Willian started to take a few now as well. They're kind of switching it up a little bit. And honestly, I know a lot of people won't have watched much of Fulham, which is part of the reason I'm bringing this up. I don't know what he is in the game. I haven't even considered signing
5.5. I just checked. 5.5.
5.5. Honestly, like this is one worth keeping an eye on. I know the next 2 games probably isn't that enticing because Fulham have got Man City and Man United. But after the break, Crystal Palace, Southampton, Leicester, that's a good run of games for Fulham to come back with. And if you're going to play a wild card or something like that, and you're looking for players that are around that region, honestly, bear Willian in mind because I don't think he was expected to have this kind of influence on the team in terms of a week-by-week basis. But he really is. He's running the show a lot of the time up front, and Mitro eventually is going to start getting on the end of all these chances too.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that Fulham attack now. I think the fact you've got Harry Wilson coming back from injury and starting to get minutes post World Cup, I'm expecting that those goals just to continue. Mitro,
Yeah.
Andreas, Wilson, Willian to have those 4 players and perhaps 3 starting every week looks great. I was annoyed when Pereira came off again at the weekend. And I know Kearney comes on every game, but
Yeah.
I do want Andreas playing 90. And for those of you that are starting Andreas every week, we kind of need that. So
yeah, he won't. That's the thing. If Fulham are looking for something different in a game, whenever we start to change things up, Andreas will be taken off because they will bring Kenny on as a kind of obvious replacement for him, and they'll look for something different from him. Andreas is really good, really consistent, and really reliable. But when the game's just not quite going our way, he's the obvious person that you take out because we've got a real good depth of options to bring on for him.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think I did the same. Also, Andreas gives you 100 miles an hour for most those 60,
Oh
70
yeah,
minutes.
100%. Yeah,
he's probably briefed with that, knowing he'll probably not be needed all 90. Good question from Luke. Thoughts on Calvert-Lewin for Mitro? He already has Wilson. So if we're shopping for a mid-price forward, how do we rank these assets? I'm I'm going to say I think I rank Wilson at number 1 because of what we've seen in the last couple of games.
Yeah.
However, I think I would go Calvert-Lewin number 2 because the fixtures for Everton are very, very strong. Let's have a look. I think it's
Leicester
2
and
homes.
Bournemouth next, isn't it? Yeah.
Is it Leicester Bournemouth? Okay,
Yeah.
and yeah, Leicester at home, Bournemouth on the road, but good fixtures. And then I'd go Mitro, 3 purely because the fixtures are tough.
Yeah.
Man City and then Man United. I do think that Man United fixture for Mitro I do think there could be a goal in that.
Yeah, for sure. Look, obviously watched both of them at the weekend, and Mitro probably had, I haven't seen this for sure, but probably had the higher XG. He had
10 shots.
a few. Yeah. There was a lot of opportunities for it. None of them fell perfectly to him. They were all like awkward bounces, or his body was slightly awkward on it, or it just wouldn't, there was a couple of good saves from Pickford too. He had a great game. Calvert-Lewin, he was a threat. He scored a disallowed goal. And you definitely can see that he's coming back. Like, this does look like a guy that seems determined to make this worthwhile, worth the extended wait to get him fully fit again. And he's starting all the games now. So he'll start Leicester, he'll start Bournemouth, trying, I guess, to convince Gareth Southgate to take a punt on him for the World Cup and put him in there. He probably will be in the provisional, I'd imagine. Yeah, do you know what? I probably would. I'd probably put Calvert-Lewin ahead of Mitrovic at the moment, mainly because they've got, Leicester and Bournemouth. Although Leicester are quite good defensively now, aren't they?
Yeah, they really are. Again, I thought Ward was really impressive against Man City again. I guess the other mid-price forward to consider, guys, and I say mid-price, he's actually 5.4, and that is Edouard at Palace. He came off at the weekend, I think, with a slight knock. He managed 74 minutes. He comes off every time, but he has been yellow flagged by the FPL website. But he never will get 90, and Mateta's always going to be an option. He goes to West Ham away and then Forest away. So he's one of the few teams that have got 2 away fixtures. I'd be targeting those with home fixtures, and Palace on the road aren't the same team. No,
they're unreliable. You really don't know what you're going to get. But Edouard, look, Vieira's been hoping and waiting that this would happen for him. They obviously could have gone into the market again to try and find a striker, but sticking with Edouard and Mateta as a rotation combination, and seems like it might pay off for them if they are patient.
Yeah. I love the chat for keeping me on point with all those names. Edouard, thank you. But also Scamacca, thank you, Alan. It's a good point because, especially I'm mentioning the fixtures, West Ham have got 2 homes. The big risk for Scamacca, as you all know this, guys, is X minutes, right? We know Antonio's going to come on, and we know Scamacca's not going to get 90. Does that matter if he's scoring goals? Well, probably not. We just need him to score goals, and I'd rather have him have 90 minutes to go for that. But the fixtures are nice. Palace and Leicester both at home. I think West Ham could win both those games.
That passed me by, actually, that they had those 2 at home. Who would you think, if you were to pick one West Ham player that you would get in for that double up? Would you go defensively, or is there an attacker that you fancy?
To be honest, with West Ham at home, I always tend to back clean sheets more than goals.
Yeah.
So I'd probably go double defence. Although Benrahma is proper cheap, and with the injuries West Ham have got to Paqueta, and they've got another big injury, Cornet.
Yeah.
I think Benrahma's pretty nailed. He was also very good at the weekend, Benrahma, against United.
Yeah, he's been waiting ages for a real chance as well, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you must have watched quite a bit of him in the Championship. Like, he's a proper good player, and he's settled in now. So Benrahma's around 5.5, 5.3 maybe. I think I'd probably look at him before Scamacca just because of money.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Jonas Private, which is not me, by the way, says Bowen is going to start banging goals. I can feel it. I just need to see it with Bowen. Like, we all know he's capable of it. I just haven't really seen him get back to where he was. Maybe it's the expectation levels. Maybe it's the slight change of system at West Ham that's affecting him. It's just not quite where he was. So, and Mark says Moyes doesn't rate Benrahma, not his signing. And I think that there is some truth to that too. Benrahma barely ever gets 90. I think he probably frustrates Moyes. Like, I can see why he would annoy him, the style of player he was. I think you have to embrace a player like that. Like, you're either all in or you can't handle him because he can be annoying. But he can also be a game changer. He's a brilliant footballer. Honestly, I think if it doesn't work out for him properly this season, he'll probably look to move on.
Yeah. Guys, we're going to move on now. Dal in the chat, please stop copy and pasting your question. We have seen it a few times. We have replied and said we're going to be talking about bonus points later. We love you, Dal. We want your interaction in the chat, but less of the same question, or we'll have to get one of our mods and cons onto you. I don't think we've got any moderators, but
We got security guards. They are actually like real life people that will knock on your door and they will hold your hands behind your back so you can't type any questions for 5 minutes.
And FPL Focus, I think you're a moderator for Scout. If you want to come over and join Chasing Green Arrows, part of that Scout network, then you'd be very welcome, I'm sure. Good stuff, FPL River. Yeah, we're together on this. And look, we love you, Dal. Keep interacting in that chat. But we're going to move on to our teams next up. Let's have a look at Pimp My Team. Here we go. Oh, we're starting with mine.
Oh,
nice. We're starting with the lowest scoring team, maybe.
That front two. Oh, no.
It's poor, isn't it? Yellow cards central. Mitro was possibly even lucky. I don't know. The back was good defensively. And at half time, when Wolves were drawing 0-0, I thought, yeah, Wolves Brentford couldn't look any more like a 0-0. And I think it was, I don't know, 50 odd minutes till the deadlock was broken. But Trippier and Pope, lovely, although a lot have them. Same with Cancelo. So whilst I got points at the back, I feel like everyone else was getting them. Captaincy paid off. Like there was a few that when Haaland's not playing, I'm going to go to the Spurs fixture because Spurs play Bournemouth. But we said on Friday night on this stream, Dean and myself, neither of us fancied Kane. We both said that's not an easy fixture now, the way Spurs are playing. Thankfully, Martinelli came in with points and Saka didn't go too big. Although a lot of people captain Haaland and vice-captain Jesus, who did well. So again, that Arsenal fixture really killed my rank. And then Leon Bailey got 60 minutes. Like if he had come off 1 minute earlier, I'd have got 1 point from Bailey. And, every point matters. So I was happy with that.
The two Fulham lads going to be benched for the next game week. That's what I want to know. Zuma and Haaland to come in potentially.
Yeah, I think Andreas will probably be subbed, maybe even second sub, because Nico Williams has a couple of home fixtures that aren't too shabby as well. So yeah, Andreas will be second or third sub. And I feel like Mitrovic has a 50% chance of being sold. I'm waiting on Haaland news in those Friday press conferences. But I've got 2 free transfers here.
Oh yeah.
I could sell both Salah and Kane. They play each other. I just need to try and work out if I think that just because they're playing each other, it shouldn't mean you need to sell them. That could be a 3-3 and both get goals.
If you were to sell one, which one would you sell?
I'd be selling Kane before Salah.
Would you? I'd go the other way.
Would you? I like. So game week 16, Liverpool play Southampton at home. I really like that fixture for Liverpool, the way Southampton are playing. Although Harry Kane plays Leeds at home.
Leeds at home, good. Yeah, that's the thing. And he's got, Liverpool at home too. Liverpool are terrible away, They're really, they're not good at home anymore either. But I don't know. I fancy Kane to score in both of those games. And Salah, I just don't know where he's playing. I don't know what the plan is for him anymore. They're so inconsistent. Like, we're looking at a disastrous season here for Liverpool. Even Trent was like, we might not make the Champions League, might not make the top 4. It's absolutely ludicrous that's what we're talking about. Game week 15. So, yeah, really interesting. Alex says Mitrovic and Salah to Rashford and Darwin. Not sure why you would want to jump on Darwin at the moment, to be honest.
Yeah, but I need to see Darwin scoring before I go there. I think my likely sells are going to be, if Haaland's injured, I'll probably sell him. But let's assume we don't hear and I keep him. I think it'll be Mitro out.
You sell him even though he's got Brentford at home the next week?
I know, it's so tough. If I sold Haaland, it would be to accommodate another Man City player. Okay. So I know it's not Haaland, but I would somehow go KDB, Foden and Cancelo, for example. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he'd have to be definitely out with a risk of also being out in game week 16. I think where I'm standing at the moment is my likely sells, and haven't worked out who I'll buy yet, is possibly Mitrovic and Martinelli. And Martinelli's would be such an annoying sell because I've got so much value tied up in him. But money isn't everything. And I don't think I want Martinelli for that Chelsea fixture. And sure, the Wolves fixture is okay, but it's at Molineux. Sorry, it's at Molineux. So I think that's where I'm looking. And I want to accommodate a Newcastle player so I can get Almiron or Wilson in. and maybe a West Ham attacker. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a bit all over the place with my transfers. I need to know where we're looking for team news and what happens in the Champions League. And that Haaland flag, if that changes one way or another, for better or for worse, that will really impact my decisions.
Yeah, FPR ever says Pep won't give us any news about Haaland. That's the problem. Yeah, well, he doesn't want to give away any clues, does he? But Brendan Rodgers said he was knee sliding when he discovered that he wasn't on the team sheet at the weekend, and you can imagine why. Like, it's a massive boost for any team when he's not on the team sheet. He's obviously not playing in midweek. We already know that much. Within an extended break, I'd be very surprised if he's not playing against Fulham. I really hope he's not, but I'll be very surprised if he doesn't play against us. Like, it didn't
He's not been
seem to
limping
be.
today either. There's
Yeah,
been
it didn't
videos
seem
of him and
that
he's
big a
not
deal
limping.
even before the weekend last gone. So with another week's rest and knowing he's got the World Cup off, it would have to be a pretty big issue for him to not play in that fixture, because he'll be looking at Fulham and Brentford thinking 2 hat-tricks. That's how he'll view those 2 games, isn't it? And it's like,
Yeah.
I'm not giving this up.
Yeah, I'm with you there. He wants to be beating all sorts of records this side of Christmas and after for the season. I think another thing I looked at, Dean, we'll move on to your team in just a sec. I want to get your thoughts on this. My preferred triple City for the 2 fixtures they've got, knowing they could be 5 or 6 nillers, would be KDB, Foden and Haaland if they're all fit, right?
Yeah.
So another thing I looked at was, do I sell Cancelo and Salah and go KDB and pretty much any defender in the game? I could go Trent. That's worth thinking about too.
It is, yeah. I mean, KDB, I know he hasn't, we haven't spoken that much about him this season because all we've really talked about is Haaland, but he's having a really good season. It's only when Haaland's not on the pitch that he's able to actually get some headlines and we all talk about him again. But obviously he does have a great combination with Haaland anyway, but now we're seeing when Haaland's not there, actually relying on KDB to step forward and step his game up again another level to make sure that City get over the line. And again, he'll relish 2 fixtures like these ones coming up. So I think that probably makes some sense. And Man City, they do let in goals at times when you don't really expect it. So even though I don't expect Fulham to go to Man City and get any points, it wouldn't surprise me if we scored a goal because of the way that we play. It might even be 4-1 or something that we lose, but at least we might get a goal. So again, that probably come into the thinking on Cancelo.
Yeah, it's all about the ceiling for me, Craig. I'm with you there. And look, whilst Cancelo's had an 18-pointer this season, his expected goals, expected assists have been way down on years gone by. And I just think the ceiling with Cancelo is much lower in those 2 fixtures against those 2 teams at home than, say, it is for KDB Foden. And there is absolutely no way I'll be selling Foden this week, guys. I've seen a few in the chat both say absolutely do not sell Foden and loads say do sell him. But I feel like that's one that could really bite me, and I'm going to give him another game. If he doesn't start again game week 15, then he'll probably be out in 16. But let's move on to Dean's team. And remember, guys, coming up in 5 minutes' time, proper bonus points section for you. It's going to be loads of fun.
Yeah, sorry, Oasis has just caught me blindsided because I'm calling KDB a myth. 1,000 sideways passes a match.
Oh, ouch.
If this is a hill to die on, I wish you all the best. I'm not sure I can go along with this. He is absolutely insane. The best crosser of a ball, I'm going to say, in the world at the moment, and probably one of the best technicians too. I can't get on board with that, but totally fair play for having such a hot take on it.
Yeah, I think he's the best player in the league. And I know Haaland's goals, genuinely, he's been my favourite player in the league for some time.
Yeah, that really caught me out. Right, anyway, my team actually got a higher score than you this game, which is
that's
surprising.
why you're second.
Yeah.
As in second
Trent let me
after
down.
me in terms of order, not in league standings.
Well, I am also second in our mini league. I'm still can't catch you even when I do beat you on a weekly basis. Kepa getting 0 points, annoying, and now he's got a warning sign next to him. That is really annoying. Alexander-Arnold 2 points. Those 2 players to get 2 is really frustrating. But beyond that, it wasn't too bad. The Almiron thing kind of saved me, and as I said, I was well prepared to get Jesus in as vice captain if Haaland didn't play, and it paid off. 18 points for Jesus without him scoring a goal.
That's nice.
Absolutely, I'm happy with that. Dean has a keep problem. Does he mean a keeper problem?
Kepa problem.
So.
Yeah. Kepa, yeah.
Kepa
Oh,
problem, keeper problem, whatever you want to
also,
call
you
it.
had De Silva start. I looked at Brentford as soon as I saw the teams. I was like, yeah, De Silva does start because someone said, "Oh, what's De Silva doing third sub?" He's the great third sub.
He always plays. Like
Yeah.
he'll always be around that starting 11. Even if he's not, he'll come on. So he's staying in probably for the season. De Silva. Yeah, I mean, not too many problems here, to be honest. I'm pretty comfortable with it. Bernardo will probably keep his play. I intended to bring this guy in for 2 weeks. That was about game week 8, I think. He's still in there, and with the next 2 games that they've got, he'll end up getting some points somewhere along the line. Perisic is going to have to play because Tottenham can't really persist with playing Emerson Royale, can they, at right back? So they're going to have to play him on the right and keep playing Sessegnon on the left because he's just not good enough. Yes, I'm fine. This is all right. Alex asking how much I have in the bank. I think I've got 2.1, I think. Yes, I've got a couple of million to play with. I will make a transfer this week. Absolutely no idea exactly where it'll be going yet. I have to wait and see. But yeah, reasonably happy with that, mate.
Yeah, mate, I think you're in good shape, and I'm very jealous of the Almiron move. And great call on captaincy going Jesus. As I said, a lot went to that Liverpool fixture. Others still stuck within the City fixture, and then a lot went to Spurs. So Jesus was a great pick as well. Cool, guys. I think loads of you are hanging around for this, which is brilliant to see. I've bigged it up all evening. And before we move on, hoping you can give us a like. Do remember we do these streams every Monday and Friday at 7. Guys, on Friday, this Friday, we have a special guest joining me and Dean. Former footballer. He's been capped by England. He scored in an FA Cup final. We'll talk more about him later, but a big name. He's a massive FPL fan as well.
Bit of a pundit these days as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he
seems like a top bloke. I've never actually come across him like in a professional sense. At least to cover his matches when I was reporting for newspapers. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you all come on Friday.
I've always found him really, even as a player, proper likable. I really liked him as a player. So yeah, hard not to like him. So yeah, it'll be really cool having him on Friday. So make sure you're around for that 7 p.m. UK time on Friday.
We're not saying his name just in case he doesn't turn up. We don't want to get your hopes up, everyone, and then he blanks us at the last minute and ghosts us. So we'll wait and see. It's not Micah Richards. That would be a good one though.
I don't think Micah Richards has scored an FA Cup final. I doubt it. It's not.
Does he play FPL either? Doubt it.
It's someone you've not seen doing FPL content before. I'll tell you that now.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure you wouldn't have seen him do any FPL content. Guys, we will move on to tips and chips. Here we go, guys. Before we run through the bonus points from the weekend, which is what we're going to discuss, just want to touch on how those bonus points are calculated. We're going to go through 4 slides very quickly here, but of course, appearance points matter. But don't forget, forwards are rewarded in the bonus point system way more than a midfielder. Okay, that's why Salah doesn't always get 2-3 bonus when he scores a goal. If it was a forward, maybe he would. So 24 versus 18, depending on forward and mid. That's because it's a forward's job to score a goal, whilst it's a midfielder's job to perhaps be more creative. We'll look at some of those numbers coming up. So let's move on to slide 2. We're going to look at the creative side. So again, midfielders, your KDBs, for example, they get tons of points from things like clocking up those key passes or successful dribbles or creating a big chance, right? 3 points for that alone. And then, of course, assist points as well. Pass completion also matters. We'll move on now. We're going to have a look at some of the other elements of the game. There's 32 metrics, remember, that are created off the back of this. Keepers saving a penalty, huge points. If a goalkeeper saves a penalty and keeps a clean sheet, pretty much guaranteed. Stuff like recoveries, saves, of course, as well. Clearances, blocks, interceptions matter. And of course, deductions for things like red cards, own goals, conceding a foul, error leading to a shot, loads in the bonus point system. As I said, 32 metrics. People like to complain, we'll move on to the next slide, about why has this person got 3? Why has this person got 2? it's not as it used to be, a person in the stand making that call who got man of the match. It's based on the 32 metrics. So if you understand them and pick players accordingly, there should be no cause for complaint, right? So again, missing a penalty, big chance. So Salah, for example, if he's missed loads of big chances, he's getting -3 every time. Same for being offside, same for being off target with shots. So let's have a look at the weekend just gone, and let's see where we think, yeah, that sounds about right, and perhaps where we think, oh, why did that person get 2 or get 3 or get 1? So Dean, first up, the Man City game, like no surprises there really.
No surprises for me, especially the top two. Like you could have probably guessed that just from watching the game, and tied up that De Bruyne would have got the top and Edison second. Stones, I don't know why he would have got 1 point ahead of others, but obviously it's to do with those metrics. So yeah, I think that one's pretty straightforward, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And again, like even the Bournemouth game, I think follows suit. Kiefer Moore, a striker, scored 2 goals. You absolutely expect him to top the bonus points there for scoring 2 goals. Again, like Brentford, Wolves, Ben Mee as a defender scored a goal, doesn't get hugely rewarded, but in that fixture there was no forward scoring. So as a defender who probably made a lot of clearances and blocks and interceptions, Ben Mee's really good at that. Probably clocked some good points. But the Brighton Chelsea game's a bit of a weird one. Many will look at that and think, why's Havertz got 3? But Dean, because he's a forward, right?
Yeah, I mean I still don't think it's right. Like this, I understand, like we're following metrics, so you can't argue with it. But like as a football fan, generally, you look at that and you're thinking, to me, that's basically like Havertz is man of the match, and it's like, well, he's obviously not man of the match. Like he's just like met a few metrics that have given him that the nod there, and it's like I don't like that. Like for me, that's annoying. But obviously, you've got to take the rough with the smooth. And flip that on to the Crystal Palace Southampton game where Edouard's got 1 point. And I'm like, well, how many big chances must this guy have missed? I haven't seen the whole game. I've seen some highlights of this Palace Southampton game. I'm not sure I could put myself through, to be honest, watching the whole of Crystal Palace Southampton. Maybe it wasn't as boring as I imagined it might have been. But let me know in the comments, like, what did Edouard do wrong in this game? Because I'm imagining that he would have got...
He had a disallowed goal as well, but I think that was probably for an offside. So again, that's -1 straight away. He probably missed a couple of big chances. It might not have even been about him being poor. It might have just been Guaita making tons of saves, Mitchell making loads of recoveries. Mitchell also got the assist for the goal, as well as obviously the clean sheet. So he might have just been massively outperformed by some of his teammates. And I guess when you look at the bonus points, it's always worth considering you are actually competing with your teammates here. This isn't a game purely about you versus the opposition. You're actually competing with players within your own team. And Edouard's competing with Mitchell, who outperformed him.
Yeah, I guess I'd never really thought of it like that. Mark asking what exactly are recoveries in the ball. I mean, just winning the ball back, right? Like winning back possession, like from a tackle or a loose ball, even if they haven't had the last touch. Is that pretty much it?
Yeah, and like someone like Mitchell, for example, let's say Southampton go for that big diagonal ball and it's behind Mitchell's head. Happens quite a bit when wing backs or fullbacks are up high. And he's turned around, he chases, and he sees that ball out quicker than the opponent. Mitchell's very good at that. So again, his recoveries would be good. Centre backs tend to get more blocks and interceptions than fullbacks, but fullbacks, of course, get things like successful crosses and key passes if they're encouraged to attack. So again, like the Newcastle Villa game kind of follows suit. You might think Almiron with a goal and an assist maybe would be higher than Tripp's, but Trippier not only got the clean sheet, he got an assist, but he also created a fair few chances. I think early in the first half, he created a big chance for Wilson that he missed.
Yeah.
So that makes sense to me, that one. You were at the Fulham game.
Yeah, I mean,
both getting 3.
They both had to make big saves. Like, so it'll be down to the fact that Mitrovic in particular missed 2 or 3, not even missed, like they were decent efforts that Pickford saved, and Leno had to make at least 2 saves that I remember that were particularly good, but he had to make 2 or 3 others too that were like either rushing out or at people's feet. So both goalkeepers, it was actually a really entertaining game. Like 0-0 doesn't do it justice at all, but Pickford in particular had a really good game, so that doesn't surprise me at all. The only thing I would say, like as watching it with the naked eye, like I just said, the 2 best footballers on the pitch And the best performances were Willian and Anthony Robinson. And particularly Anthony Robinson, I'll be interested in because Fulham kept a clean sheet.
Yeah.
He has a lot of the ball. He always keeps the ball. There's a lot of recovery balls that he wins too. And he gets forward and tries to create chances. So I don't know
Ooh.
where he comes in this or if there's any way of
He
checking
was
it.
so close, mate.
Was he?
So Diop and Cody got 28 BPS,
Yeah.
and then Robinson 26. So again, all he needed was one key pass, and he gets a bonus point. One
Right,
more key
yeah.
pass.
I was going to say, because that was the performance that stood out to me from that game that I would be surprised about. But yeah, the rest makes sense.
That's really interesting, though, from someone, it used to be done by man in the stand. You were a man in the stand and called out straight away, like Robinson caught your eye. And he was absolutely very close, really close, rewarded in the bonus points. But yeah, he's 2 off the Op and Cody. So that kind of makes sense, which is good to know.
Yeah, it's good to
The
know, actually. Yeah.
Liverpool game's interesting. Like Liverpool lost, yet Robertson still gets 3 bonus. But again, Leeds didn't have a striker score a goal. Or Rodrigo did actually, but he came off early. I think possibly even before 60. Again, you need to get to 60 to get a lot of those points in, both appearance points too. And Robbo got the assist. And again, a lot of corners from Robertson that would have met ahead of Van Dijk, for example, and that's a chance created.
Oh, right. That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, Melier was the obvious standout from watching this. I mean, I watched this game like casually. I didn't pay like massive attention, but I did have the whole game on once I got back from Fulham. And, Melier obviously made like umpteen saves. Somerville scores the winning goal late on. But Robertson, like, I'm guessing, like, looked to me like Liverpool were under a threat a lot of the games. Maybe it was recoveries and stuff like that, as well as obviously we all know that Robertson goes the other way. So maybe it was just one of those games that it all fell for him.
Yeah, I think so. And then Arsenal Forest, probably no surprises there. Nelson, lots of goal involvements.
Yeah.
You might expect Jesus with 2 assists to be higher than. I don't think Saliba had a goal involvement. I think that's just purely for defensive stuff. Worth noting with Arsenal, when they do keep a clean sheet, Saliba is really strong. So again, like I'm just looking at the bonus points now. Saliba got 31. In the top 5, no other Arsenal player featured there in terms of defender. So again, if you're in 2 minds when buying a player, let's say you're looking at Saliba and Gabriel. Gabriel's not only more expensive, arguably Saliba's got more goal threat. If you go off this season, he has. And then you also go, just check out the bonus points, and Saliba's outperforming Gabriel again. So again, always worth considering with your transfers. If you're looking at, say, I want to buy an Arsenal defender, and you're in 2 minds, the thing that sometimes tips it for me is I just go, who's the higher bonus points scorer? Because they all clock up.
Yeah, absolutely. Dow, by the way, does not miss a trick. He said, I thought you were going to the pub after the Fulham game. Well, Dow, that was the plan. Trust me. Like, I always like to go to the pub for a quick one after the game. The person I went with, it was not actually the normal person I go with. It actually was an Everton fan, one of my neighbours. And so, like, walking back to the station, I said, right, should we have a quick one then? He goes, oh, no, I better get back. So I was like, oh, what? He caught me blind. I was not prepared for that answer. I thought it was a no-brainer. So, yeah, Dow, I had to go home. I was ordered home by my neighbour.
That is awesome. And I'm glad we mentioned Dow because we're about to speak Dallo. He was very good.
Important.
And Gary Neville was just over the moon with this boy.
He was,
right back, every good header, but just good. Nothing overwhelmingly good about Dallo's backstick headers, clearances. Gary Neville was having a lot of fun in that commentary box, and Dallo got the 3 bonus points, but a ton of clearances there, right? We saw it, and Neville spoke about it. Also, again, United goal scorer wasn't a forward; it was Rashford, who, interestingly enough, didn't feature. But again, you could argue Rashford was quite wasteful, missed quite a few chances.
Yeah, missed a big chance, didn't he?
And if he was a forward, he would have had 24 BPS, remember, for the goal. Instead, he only got 18. So he was 6 down.
Yes. Yeah, this is the thing that always forget too. Like, he's playing as a forward in the day. He's not a forward, so the points system affects him.
Yeah, exactly. But he does earn an extra point for a goal and get a clean sheet as a midfielder, which he wouldn't have for a forward. So it pretty much, usually the reclassification, even whilst midfielders don't perform as well in the bonus points as forward, because you get the extra point for a goal, Salah, Rashford, and you also benefit from clean sheets, almost in every scenario, when you look at the end of the season, would that player have done better if they're reclassified as a forward? No. Every time you want to be a midfielder over a forward.
Yeah, so maybe Dalot is becoming a real option here, like a Cancelo type. Because I mean, Man United have tightening up, like they're looking better defensively since Lisandro Martinez settled into that back line. De Gea's making worldy saves left, right, and centre. And if Dalot's getting bonus points like this, maybe he's going to be someone that we all get in.
Yeah, key passes too. He's good going forward, Dallo. And again, Shaw too. Like we've seen Shaw get an assist in the last few weeks. Both Dallo and Shaw are 4.7, and Shaw now looks like Malacia's, second choice, and Shaw's the first name on that left back position. So both United defenders worth considering, but probably not till after the World Cup, unless you
Yeah.
see that as a priority transfer. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like Balassi was brought in for competition, and actually, it's working out perfectly. Those two seem to be spurring each other on and really bringing the best out of each other.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And if I was going Cancelo out, maybe I'd look at one of them. Guys, we'll talk way more on Friday about our plans. I hope you enjoyed that bonus point section. We're going to do this every Monday because Monday is meant to be the review show, and I feel like we've just reviewed those 10 fixtures quite nicely.
That was good.
Let us know in the chat if you liked that section. Then just say yes, we love that section, or give us a comment. You can also show that you liked it by hitting that like button. If we see the likes jump, we'll get it.
CH is doing the job for us. Look.
Oh, good man, CH. Thank you. So there we go. Yeah, Halloween treat. Love that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lee. I think you might be new around here. We haven't seen you much in the chat before, so thanks for coming on board, guys. We've not had a great deal of time this afternoon, this evening, to do your questions. We might have time to answer one or two very quick
let's
ones.
get one or two in at the end, shall we? Just to please the punters. Dalot and Shaw double up. A bit risky for me. Just pick one and go with it.
Yeah, too risky for me too.
Yeah, they're not that good yet. They're not Man City yet. So yeah, sorry, Dow. Not feeling that love. I did see another question up here that I wanted to get. Kuba, I wanted to. Who are the best captain options going forward for the next game week? I feel like it's actually quite a good question, considering that Haaland might not be available. Who would you say maybe rank a 1 to 3 of who you would be looking at as contenders at this stage going towards the weekend, mate?
Oh, I love that question. It's hard because with Kane and Salah playing each other, I'm gonna potentially write that fixture off, right? Because I just don't know where it goes. I really have no idea, and I don't know if that's a high or low scoring game either. So I'm gonna say with if Haaland's out, I still look within that City fixture, and I'd genuinely be captaining KDB number 1 and probably Foden number 2.
Would you?
I really would still be looking there, yeah. And then outside of that, I'm not so sure because players I own haven't necessarily got great games. But you could look at someone like a.
Would you be brave enough to, like, if you had Callum Wilson, Southampton away, they're not very good. Newcastle are flying. I know it's a bit of a punt, but surely it has to be a consideration at this point with the way that they're playing.
Yeah, I think you're right. I was just looking at those forwards going, oh, let's have a look at Mitrovic, Calvert-Lewin and Wilson. And yeah, it's Wilson's fixture. I mean, Scamacca against Palace, but no, he's not been scoring. You'd back Newcastle. I think you're right. I think I would go to Newcastle after City.
A few people have shouted Ronaldo at us throughout this chat, and I can't do it. I can't bring myself to pick Ronaldo. The last time I did that, pretty sure he scored a hat-trick. Pretty sure. I was like, nah, Ronaldo's not for me. And then he got like 7 goals in 4 games or something. So if you want Ronaldo, go for Ronaldo. I cannot advise you to do it. But obviously, at any point, the old Ronaldo could turn up and smash in a hat-trick. And they've got Aston Villa. They've got Fulham. You never know.
Yeah. And game week 16, City have Brentford. Yep. Also a really nice fixture at the Etihad. Again,
that is a really nice one.
If there's no Haaland, still, I really want KDB and Haaland double up. I am considering selling Cancelo just to get there with Foden. I'm interested to see how City line up in the Champions League. I'm really hoping KDB gets another rest. That'd be tasty.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jack asked about Reece Nelson for Andreas. Reece Nelson is around just over 5 million. We need to know more about the Saka injury. Yeah, if Saka's out, he probably does, but we don't know that.
No. And I mean, picking him for Chelsea away seems pretty bold still. Like there are other more reliable FPL options here that we've seen week by week and not for like half an hour.
Yeah, agreed. Good stuff. Guys, I think we're going to wrap. Just a little touch point again. Friday at 7. Do not miss this. We have got a former England international joining us on the stream. He scored in an FA Cup final. He was a forward. What else? What else can we say about him, Dean? What would be your little clue?
Oh, didn't he get quite a bad injury?
Yeah, he did.
It was quite premature, wasn't it, that he had to hang up his boots?
Yeah.
It was quite sad actually, because I think he had a pretty premature end. They wasn't super young, but definitely way before he should have ended. So that's the only other clue I can really give. Maybe, yeah,
Because I think he
there's
had one
enough there.
England cap, and he probably would have had more if it wasn't for the injury.
Absolutely, yeah, he would have. He was a bit of a goal machine at one point, wasn't he? So there's enough there. There's enough there, and Andy Cole. I used to love Andy Cole. I really did. Right, that's the end of the show then, mate.
Good stuff. We look forward to revealing our special guest on
One
Friday.
or two of you might have got it. We're lips are sealed. Lips are sealed.
Yeah. Maybe we'll be able to tweet it on Friday on the Chasing Green Arrows account. So make sure you're following that.
Yeah.
Our handle is just above here. Make sure you're following us on Instagram as well. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe by lunchtime, by midday on Friday, we'll try and put it out. But guys, we'll see you on Friday. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. But for now, he's been Dean, I've been Janny, and we've been Chasing Green Arrows.